Welcome to the Scottish Rite Journal podcast, an audio presentation of the Scottish Rite Journal, brought to you by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. This week's article is President Lyndon B. Johnson Entered Apprentice by Brother James A. Marples, 32nd degree, and comes from the January-February 2025 issue of the Scottish Rite Journal. President Lyndon Baines Johnson was initiated into the first degree of Freemasonry, entered apprentice, on October 30th, 1937 in Johnson City Lodge No. 561 at Johnson City, Texas. But he never advanced to become a fellowcraft or master mason. Some jurisdictions, such as his native Texas, do not consider LBJ, as he was styled, a mason. However, other jurisdictions, such as Kansas and many overseas, would have recognized him as a Mason entitled to Masonic funeral graveside rites. When I was a young boy in the 1960s, President Johnson flew in Air Force One to Wichita, Kansas, about 15 miles from my home in the suburb of Rose Hill. My father even brought me outside in case the plane flew overhead, and sure enough, it did. My dad also told me that President Johnson wanted to tour both the Old Midian Shrine Temple and the Wichita Scottish Rite, which were practically across the street from one another. Unfortunately, the Secret Service would not allow this due to security concerns in the wake of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Brother Johnson's life was consumed in either running for or serving in political office. Some speculate that he simply was too busy to commit to further degrees in Masonry. Other reasons have been advanced as well. In any case, Johnson was not passed to fellowcraft or raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason. LBJ saw military service from 1941 to 1942 as an active member of the U.S. Navy. From 1942 to 1964, he was in the Naval Reserves, attaining the rank of commander and earning the Silver Star during his service. Few people realize that Lyndon B. Johnson started out as a public school teacher. From all accounts, he did a credible job as an educator. However, his real thirst was for politics, and this seemingly by happenstance. President Franklin D. Roosevelt launched the New Deal as a response to the Great Depression. In 1935, Brother Roosevelt launched the National Youth Administration to provide employment for the nation's youth. Congressman and Brother Sam Rayburn, Constantine Lodge No. 13, Bonham, Texas, arranged for Johnson's appointment by President Roosevelt as Texas State Director of the NYA. For 18 months, LBJ provided desperately needed employment opportunities to the young people of Texas. He dispersed federal funds, actuated political contacts, and built a cadre of committed NYA staffers. Brother Johnson's next opportunity came on February 22, 1937, when Congressman James P. Buck Buchanan suddenly passed away. 28-year-old Johnson seized the opportunity to run for this office and won. He later was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1948. Gradually, he held many important committee assignments, and his role among the Democratic Party began to expand, with his becoming Senate Majority Leader in 1954. His influence was duly noticed by fellow Senator John F. Kennedy, who selected Johnson to become his vice presidential running mate in 1960. The pair ultimately won the general election. Upon JFK's tragic assassination on November 22, 1963, Lyndon Baines Johnson became the nation's 36th president. Brother Johnson's vice president was Brother Herbert H. Humphrey, Cataract Lodge No. 2, Minneapolis, Minnesota. We read in B. Chris Ruley's recent book, The White House and the Freemasons, of a joint Masonic venture shared by the Masonic president and the Masonic vice president. Johnson got into the fraternal spirit with Humphrey on July 11, 1967, when the Imperial Shrine returned to Washington for its convention. Johnson and Humphrey watched the shrine's parade up Pennsylvania Avenue, which kicked off the convention's activities. As president during the Vietnam War, LBJ became a highly controversial figure but his Great Society domestic achievements, such as Medicare, signed into law 60 years ago in 1965, have earned him the admiration of generations of Americans. This program continues to provide a vitally needed medical safety net to older Americans. We can take pride that Brother Lyndon Baines Johnson found time to become an entered apprentice Mason and that his path crossed with many notable Masons throughout his life. Like and share this article, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you wish to comment, please leave one, and as a reminder, hit the notifications bell. Any accompanying photographs or citations for this article can be found in the corresponding print edition. The Scottish Rite Journal is published by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. Mark Dreisenstock, 33rd degree, Managing Editor. I'm your host, Matt Bowers.